Hello everyone, Mackie is here, ladies and gentlemen, and now it is time for the state of the LEC. Well, it is official, the LEC absolutely sucks. And I'm not saying this as a competitive personnel, I'm saying this as a fan of the region. Now, let me just tell you a little bit of history about my viewing of the region. In the most funny way possible, I started watching the region in 2020. I did not get anything manageable until I see the 2019 G2 team. That was like the most special team in all of League of Legends. It's not until 2020 that I fully grasped with it, and also the pandemic kind of like accelerated further. But 2020 to 2021 was kind of like the peak years of the LEC for some people, including myself. And over time, it has become less and less and less watchable, to the point of that I've decided that this split and for the rest of the year, I cannot watch LEC anymore. I know it hurts. It hurts so much. It hurts for me as well. But at the same time, there is more league to watch other than like the big regions. Maybe I can catch CBLOL, or maybe I can do like LCK or LPL and all that kind of stuff. But for me personally, right now, the LEC is just not for me anymore. It's just not. And right now, there are some reasons why the LEC is not like this. So, the first off is that this 3-split format is just being meaningless right now. Now, when the concept of the 3-split format came into that, I was thinking to myself, it's a way better idea than this whole like BO1 18 match kind of scrim in which like you don't read too much into the best of ones, only the best of fives. It's all that matters. And while it works in the short term, you know, the hype, the prestige about it, over time it kind of feels like it's been watered down just much. Now, let me just give you a little bit of example. Take, Spring Split, for example. Tell me if you think Spring Split is important. Right now, I just don't feel like it's important. If you feel like, the split is meaningless, just look at the Gen G T1 finals of the LCK. And then watch the G2 versus Fnatic, and it kind of feels like night and day. I think there's also reasons why that happens, and we'll get to that later, but it kind of feels like the splits become meaningless right now. And I think many people just knew about it, but it feels like, well, G2 won the spring split and then the winter split, so that counts as like 5 or 6 splits they won over the last years. It doesn't feel right for me. It doesn't feel like a championship. It feels like one of those in-season tournament, which, listen, I'm not jealous about the NBA, of course, but it just feels like an in-season tournament cup that the NBA is doing right now. That doesn't feel meaningless, other than trying to like put the tournament on to try to make the regular season look good. And right now, over time, for the players and for the fans, it burns them out. It really burns them out. And the quality of play right now, it's just not as good. Like, I can't even bother watching the last week of LEC for the like of me. Like, I don't even need to watch the LEC final week. Just look at the Liquipedia results. It's like you have like 7 best of spot ones, and you got Man Lions kind of crawl into it by winning those 2 tiebreakers against Rogue and Vitality. Probably pretty much like the 2 worst teams in all the region right now. So it just makes you feel like, what's the point? In fact, what is the point of all of this right now? And it makes you feel like you're not invested into this. You don't care about it right now. And that also leads us to the law. That means that the creativity is gone. Because of all the production and the cutting of staff and all that kind of stuff, the creativity is no longer there. Like, the thing is, Akeem, that we don't care about the games. I feel like the games right now is just meaningless in the grand scheme of things. We care about like the product on the field, the little skits that you do, Like my favorite skits in the LEC from there is the I want the LEC back from like 2019 or such. The epic rap battles, the reckless with my hearts kind of songs, those kind of things. And yeah, they may be cringe, they may be like not great, but it's something that people that you put on the table and people will care about it. And without that, and yeah, the live skits are great, but without that kind of quality, it's unbearable to watch. It's like watching England football right now. It's like they have the quality, they got the people to do it, but they don't have the creativity juice to do it. And maybe it's just because of the lack of staff and probably the lack of money, but it just makes you feel like the casters have to do so much of all of this with so little time, of course. And listen, this is not a shade on the casters that have done the LEC. They've done really well. Well, not all of them, but pretty much like done really well with like the little that they have done and the little they have provided for them. And it just makes you feel like what else they can do other than cast and all kind of stuff. They don't have the money to do it. They don't have the creativity to do it. It's just that they have to call games and that's it. And it feels stale. Like, here's the thing about esports right now. Esports is not just about like playing video games and all those kind of stuff. Esports at the end of the day is an entertainment and a business. And if your product is not entertaining enough for the masses, over time it will get stale and boring, and many people will have to move away from it. Listen, I just watched the FaZe Clan 30 for 30 documentary about like FaZe being from a gaming company into like one of the most established business places in probably the world right now. And that's the thing that the LEC has missed. It feels like we care more about the content rather than the games itself. Like, I cannot believe I'm going to say this right now, but the LCS is doing better than you guys. Can you believe it? This is an absolute shocker. The LCS is doing better than you guys. Despite the fact that viewership is not as great as the LEC. That shows that at least the LCS is trying their best to make the product better for the sake of entertainment, instead of having the good gameplay, of course. Your gameplay is not as great, and the entertainment is not as good. So it just feels like, what is the point of watching something like this when the games are not great, but the entertainment is not great as either? So that's pretty much my 2 cents about it. And also, where are the content creation from the casters right now? I'm just gonna put this out there. Like, Captain Flowers right now is doing at least some content alongside with his casting duties, of course. I don't see one peep from like the LEC casters except like Medic except Medic, who does something with Broxa on the Dexero course. But that is for like the company content creation. Where's the content creation for the casters, of course? Like, I know K-Troll has done some content creation, of course, but that was when he did casting, of course, when he LEC. At least he's doing something right now. The casters have not done much to elevate their own brand right now. And at the times where esports winter is a real thing and the costs are being cut, the production is being stale right now, it just feels like you need your own self to put up and like elevate your own self. Like, I wanted to see Jamada do his own content creation to elevate the LEC even more instead of just hurting them less. Because if you're not putting yourself out there to make the LEC look good, what is the point of actually watching you? Like, I can see Jamada. I think Jamada's a good guy, but it's just, I feel like, what else can you do other than calling games of such? And that's pretty much like, that's pretty much like everybody else in the esports space right now. It's just like you either have to put yourself out there to make your business look good, or else it doesn't do well. And right now, the lack of content creation from the other casters is really gonna hurt not only their brand but the LEC brand as well. Because if you do not put out there and make the content great, then what is the point of actually putting themselves? Because of the lack of money and all kinds of stuff. I'm just saying right now. It's just listen. It's not part of the problem with the LEC right now, but it's just kind of like a little bit of like the issues that's going on and like the LEC stalemate as a whole. The next thing is that the over reliance on the ERLs and Koreans. Now, listen. Here is the thing. I have no problem with the ERLs being put in there and becoming like the future of the LEC and all kind of stuff. But the problem with the ERLs is that you are putting ERLs for the sake of putting ERLs. It's like you're putting like a player, let's just say Yike, for example. We all know Yike is a good jungler. Not saying the best jungler in the world, but he's a good jungler. If he were put to any other team other than G2, he will flop immediately. He would not even see the day. He would not even see the light of day in like international team other than G2. And I think that ties into the poor GMing of the organizations, of course. But I will get to that later. But I think it's the reliance of ERL for the sake of ERLs, and not like putting the old guys, putting the established people that run it. Like I see Perks right now sitting on the bench and just waiting for a chance. Now, do I believe Perks is washed? No, listen, no. I do not believe that any pro is washed. Axe Ven, Axe Jensen, Axe Licorice, Axe, Impact, of course. They put in the work despite the fact that, younger players are like growing and developing and all kinds of stuff. I can count the list of names of players who have been playing the LEC for years and have given all they got to this region, but unfortunately they're being replaced by some younger, hungrier person. And I have nothing wrong with that. But unfortunately, like, if your ERL player is not doing well in the ERL space, then what is the point of putting them? And the over reliance on Koreans. It's like this whole thing started with Malrang back in 2021 when you put a Korean in the jungler and then successful and all that kind of stuff. And then Evie, top laner, but he's from Japan. But I think the point is that we are like trusting the Koreans to do well, even though in hindsight they're not the kind of players that we used to. It reminds me of Kana from like K-Corp, of course. I mean, Kana is a decent guy, but he's just nowhere near the kind of quality that any top laner have. Like your Alfari or your Odawame, of course. He's like nowhere near that kind of quality. If you could bring some older established players with some young rookies and make them mix, then that can work. I think that can work right now. But it just feels like the ERLs are making the quality look worse. It seems. And this is not throwing salt on the wall, throwing shade under the ERLs and the Koreans, but it just makes it feel like relying on the rookies too much, it's going to oversaturate the quality of the players. Like, let me just put some mind into your heads. If Caps is replaced by an ERL player, how would he fare, with the pressure and the situation right now? It's just like, how will he fare? And it will fail badly. The next part, and this is not on the list that I do, but I'm gonna have to put it right there, is that K-Corp and Mad Lions have pretty much hurt the league as a whole. Now let me just be honest with yourself. If Koi came in, or if Mad Lions came here without the EBA influence, how will they do in the league? If K-Corp does not come in with the hype that they're supposed to be, how will they do in the league? It will be pretty much like every other team. Not as great, but things to grow. And unfortunately, the passion of the league, the over-reliance on nationalism around certain teams, it does hurt the fan base. It's like, Team BS are looking like the best team in the LEC, but everybody cares about K-Corp. you know, maybe G2 are the best Spanish org. Listen, G2 are not from Spain, but just to put an example, G2 are like the best team in all of Spain, yet everybody cares about Mad Lions Koi. Or Heretics being the best Spanish team, but everybody cares about Mad Lions Koi. Because of EBA, because of Commento, and these influencers are really squeezing the life of this league that is supposed to be like wholesome and nice about it. Now in terms of viewership and all kind of stuff, great, it grows some eyes, but I'm gonna do some little exercise. Go to esportscharts.com and look at the viewership for the LEC, the peak viewership of the LEC, and then think about, you know, the Commento numbers and the EBA numbers. Okay, now take away those numbers and what do you got in the viewership? It will be like 150,000 or 175 or less. It'll be around the same amount of numbers that the LCS will get. And that feels like we're relying on co-streamers to do the work. Now, K-Tool has been doing this, of course, he's been doing this with Fnatic, but I bet you he's nowhere near the kind of influential powers like a Commento or EBA, of course, talk about. And that's just proving that if you're not Spanish, if you're not French, then you don't belong in the league. And that really hurts. That really hurts to like look at SK Gaming, who has been there long ago, but never get the fan base, never get the, you know, the huzzah that many fan bases does. Look at all these established teams that have been there, done that, and they never get the kind of treatment that they deserve. Look at Team BDS, who, yes, they have not done well internationally and all those stuff, but they have done well in the last few years to put themselves as probably one of the most pretty stable teams in all of LEC right now. And they never get the love from most French fans. It's always K-Corp all the time. And that really sucks. That really, really sucks for the LEC as a whole. So with this nationalism that is going on right now in the LEC, and this passion and all this kind of stuff, it really makes you feel like the pressure got to the players too much, and they perform badly, of course, and nobody gets fired because of it. Nobody gets hooked about it. It's not like the top head's fault or something. It's always kind of like, well, let's just blame the coach or something. That will do well. It's just not. It's just not anymore. So I think the nationalism has gotten into the LEC's heads really too much. And it got to the point that it's been doing really too well, really too fast. And it's hurting them. Now, the competition is stale is the next part. And I feel like everybody's going to look at this and just say G2 dominate the region and it's the reason why the league is stale. Well, if you think that has happened, and if you're thinking that G2 is the reason why the competition is stale, well, congratulations. You're dumb. Yes, G2 are dominating the competition. Yes, G2 are making a mockery of the LEC. But do not blame G2 for their faults. G2 are doing what every team needs to do in a region that is so bad and so underperforming right now. They go out there and win their region. And let me tell you something. G2 Esports did fantastically well in the MSI right now. Meanwhile, Fnatic, who's been pretty decent, who's been pretty okay, lost to NA. Right now, we're at the point right now, I'm saying a lot of right nows right now, but okay, too much. At this moment, at the time of recording, G2 Esports is literally the only good team in the LEC left that is capable of winning games against Koreans and LPL teams. And I think it's because of like nobody is capable of lighting the fire under G2's butt and make them good. Like when everybody like shouting like G2 are no good when they're 1 and 2, G2 just ran out like 60 wins in a row and don't care. They're good enough and capable enough to bounce back and good enough. And it's not because like G2 are capable of doing that. It's because of the whole region not being competitive enough. Like, just look at the LCK right now. Yes, we got Gen G and T1 at the same time, but you got Hana Live Esports doing okay. D Plus is doing fine. And yes, we may get the same winner every time, but it just feels like maybe it's a difference of culture, and maybe it's a difference of like levels of like regional and patch nodes and style of play. But the way the competition is right now, especially this split, it just feels dull, and it feels like blah. It feels nothing to me. It feels like everybody knew that G2 is going to win the LEC split, so what's the point of watching it? And it almost feels like the same thing with like fans of League One knowing that like PSG is going to win the League One title, so what is the point of watching League One? Or Premier League fans saying that Manchester City is going to win the Premier League title, so what's the point of watching Premier League? If you are going to watch the tournament and everybody knows who's going to win, at least make this thing competitive. At least make G2 sweat just a bit. Or better yet, at least anybody but G2 being good enough to compete internationally and make people like be faithful again. Because if G2 Esports are like the only good team that compete internationally and nobody can, then I'm sorry, that is just how it is right now. That's just how sad, that is just how bad it is right now. I know Gen G are good enough in international events. I know Top Esports, I know JDG, I know BLG, I know these Asian teams are capable enough to compete on the international scale. But in order for like, yes, again, the West to do well, the competition has to be good. And unfortunately, we don't see any competition from the LEC. Not in my view. It's just not good enough. And if you dig into yourself, well, SK and BDS are good in the regular season. Yes, regular season. You know, when the games don't matter that much. And now we're to the point like best of 3s and best of 5 matters. So here's a little exercise for you, BDS and SK Gaming. Can you beat G2 in 2 of the 3 games or 3 of the 5 games? If you do that, then maybe, just maybe, I can give you some hope for you internationally. If you don't, then I have no hope for you. Then I have zero hope for you. Because that is where we are right now. It feels like G2 Esports are good enough to win the LEC, and no one else is coming even second place. Which on one hand is great for G2 fans because they know that every year they're good enough to win and have a high expectation of winning, but it also makes it stale. It just feels like they have no equals between each other. Like 2018 to 2019, it was G2 Fnatic. And it's part of 2020. It feels like G2 Fnatic from 2018 to 2020 are like the equals, of course. Right now, G2 is like way above Fnatic in like every sense of the world. And also, I think Cajal mentioned it in his stream that if you see G2 versus Fnatic millions of times, overall, it will become like, I don't care anymore. Like, just imagine Manchester City versus Liverpool 5 times a week for like the next 10 weeks. Overall, it'd be like, dude, that's just too much for me. And listen, why G2 Fnatic is the most important? Because it's like the matches are important, the big stakes, all kind of stuff, and now this rivalry that just feels like it feels A, one-sided, but B, a little bit too much for me. Just don't make G2 Fnatic be like the big... I mean, yeah, G2 Fnatic is the big match, but don't make it too much of a big deal. Or else it just feels like nobody, like, people will burn out and people, like, don't care about it. Like, the saddest part about it is, like, Dignitas FlyQuest was probably like the best matchup of the LCS this week. Even though the match was stale, even though the match was 2-0 in favor of Fly, at least you could see the hype, the talk, the trash talk, and all that kind of stuff. For G2 Fnatic, I don't feel nothing about this matchup. Even for a best of 1, I don't feel that good for this matchup. And it just makes you feel like, well, what is the point right now? What is the point of watching this? So, yeah, the competition doesn't feel great. And also the lack of road shows really killed them because, you know, with the production staff being gone, with the budget cuts happening, it just makes you feel like, let's just do the finals in the studio. Now, at least the LCS is putting the finals in an arena. By the way, it's on the YouTube theater in Inglewood, California, home of the Los Angeles Chargers / Rams. Like, it's not as big, of course, like one of those stadiums, but at least it is an arena, of course, and at least it holds like a couple of thousand people. You don't have to put it like a big hockey stadium in like Raleigh, North Carolina, or something. At least you can put it in a decent stadium. So at least the LCS it's putting on a show one last time, of course, in a decent 15,000 seat stadium or something. For the LEC, I just don't feel nothing about these split finals. And I think it links to like the 3 splits being meaningless and all kind of stuff. It's that you're hosting the finals in some studio and it doesn't feel great. Like, I get it. You don't have to do this in a big stadium or a big arena, of course. But a 5,000, 10,000 stadium in like near Berlin or near Copenhagen or near like Cologne will be good enough. Sometimes less is more. And we are treating this like it's one of those studio matches. Like, let me just pour some cold water on the truth here for you Man Lions fans or Man Lions Koi fans. Man Lions have won more LEC titles than any other team not named G2. They've won 2 in 2021 and, of course, once last year in the LEC Spring Finals when they did the reverse sweep against BDS. Do you know why all of these matches are in common? Because they played because they played in a studio, in the LEC studio. Man Lions have not won an LEC title outside of their own studio in their years as an org, not even with Splice. And once you know that feeling of playing in an arena, once you know what it feels like to have the nerves on the back of your head, the heart racing and all kind of stuff, once you go out there and win in that arena, then those trophies are absolutely meaningless. It's kind of like Mouse in the CS right now. Yay, they won like ESL Pro League, but they never won anything in the big arenas yet. They'll get there, and they'll get there soon, but until I see you win in an arena, then your titles are kind of meaningless. And it's the same thing with the Man Lions titles. At least Rogue won a title in Malmo, of course. At least they won in an arena. Your Man Lions titles feel empty. They feel hollow. They feel nothing. Man Lions titles just feels like they don't mean anything without like the big crowds and the big excitement and the hype around it. And the lack of competition and the hype around it just makes these titles, make these matches feel like it feels bad. They feel horribly bad. And all of this leads to poor GMing by the people. It's like you're putting talent in the wrong places. Like G2 are like the only team, with Rahman of course, that has the right GMing with the right players, with the right coaches and the right structure. They have the structure and the know-it-all to put the right players in the situation. Every other team, I mean, Mac. Oh my God, Mac. So Mac, in case you haven't noticed, is the coach of Mad Lions, who, by the way, his teams are kind of like failing internationally, but at least he got these teams to be absolutely decent. He coached Vitality, and look at Vitality right now. They can't even make the season finals. Like, can you believe it? One of the most, I'm not saying best coach in all LEC, who by the way won a couple of LEC titles, but Mac went from winning LEC like 3 years ago to being like bottom tier team with Vitality. Vitality! Like, I cannot believe it. I mean, it's horrible. And maybe it's not his fault. He had to coach the team, but it almost feels like the GM is just the play. It feels like they put in the wrong players in the wrong teams, of course. Like, you look at Jankos and Hillisang, 2 established veterans, and they have to work with like ERLs that doesn't fit the team's, style of play or something. Rogue looked horribly bad. Like I mentioned, like 2 years ago Rogue were like LEC champions. Rogue went from LEC champions to bottom team to become like no points in the season. And I will not be shocked if this team will be lock, stock, and barrel, sold to the Saudis and replaced by Falcons Esports. I will get to that later. I will get to the cold truth later. But Rogue just feels so bad right now that I just want Rogue to die. I feel like Rogue needs to die right now in order to make the league better. Because I just feel that the talent right now and the placement of the talent, it just feels like a bad job. It just feels bad. It feels limp. And the GMs don't get fired for this. Like, who gets fired for this? It feels like GM in the LEC is like the easiest part because you can mess up so many times and never get fired for anything. Never take a single responsibility for their actions. And that feels bad. That feels really, really bad right now. So, here are some solutions. And maybe these solutions will never solve all their problems. But I feel like right now, if I were the LEC commissioner, which, by the way, the LEC commissioner is watching this, you are warned. I have to make solutions to make this LEC better, or else the LEC will be fading to like the LCS right now, fading to nothingness. So I think we have to cut the teams down. 10 teams in the LEC is just too much for everybody else. I think the satisfying number is 8 or 6, in my opinion. I think 8 is like a suitable number because you could just do a format that can be suitable for the fans and everybody else. So if I could cut 2 teams from the LEC, I will cut Rogue from the league and maybe... Jesus, I'm offending the fans. I mean, it can't be cakewalk. I have to cut down Vitality, of course. I have to cut down Rogue and Vitality. I have to cut down the 2 teams that did not make playoffs and be like it is. Because I feel like right now, if you cut down the teams, the saturation of talent will be like decent and fine. And also, you have a format that actually can work. Like, for example, the GSL format in StarCraft, and yes, I watch a few StarCraft. I'm not sure if I can make a content on StarCraft. I'm not sure, but this is more like a League of Legends heavy focused channel. But someday soon. But if you want, you can make a GSL format and split the 2 teams into 4 groups and make it double elimination and then make double elimination brackets. And that will be fine. Now, you can make like a regular season format, but the best of ones has to go right now. The best of ones has to go right now. I feel like best of 3s and fearless drafts is the way to go. Make it like a regular season best of 1 format and have like the top 4 and have like the top 6 teams face each other in like a bracket or something. So if you could cut the teams down and make it like an 8-team or 6-team league, maybe 8 for the purposes of this, you can make the format work and make it like, you know, suitable for the teams. Also, you have to make the LEC regional championship the main thing. Like next year, we'll have the the 3-split format culminating in the regional championship. Make that the big reason. We do not want to see the Mickey Mouse Shield trophies again. I do not want to see it. The LEC championship, which is the main championship with the big trophy, of course, is the big trophy. It's the only trophy that matters. You can put your splits in and make you dominate your splits and all kind of stuff, but do not do any trophies or anything like that. Say they won the split and they qualify and they have points, circuit points. I'm making a circuit right now to qualify for the regional finals, and then make the finals feel like this. Make the season, make every split hype themselves up to culminate with the big finals right now. Because if you can build the storylines, and that's the one thing that the LEC is like, the storylines. Or I can offer you to put ERL teams into the LEC. If there's one, I will love to bring Unicorns of Love back into the league. So if I were the LEC right now, I will do what the Americas and the APEC are doing, and decided to cut the region down to 6 teams and promote 2 from the ERLs and making kind of like the same program with the Valorant thing. Like a program like partnership program or something. Yeah, the partnership program. And lit a fire on the other teams. Put a Unicorns of Love or a K-Core Blue or something into that region. And lit a fire on them. See how they work and see if the ERL's teams can beat the LEC teams. Make, iTrack Spandu or Unicorns of Love or Barcelona Esports Club promote in the LEC and see how it goes and make the region good. Now, do I believe there will be more nationalism? Yes, but of course, but at the same time, new teams come up and showcase and play well. It's great. Ask Griffin years ago in the LCK, or Down One Gaming years ago, coming up from the Championship League and shake and make quarterfinals of Worlds, and then a year later won the whole thing. It's that little bit of new blood is going to make the region a little bit better. Not saying much better, but a little bit better. But most importantly, create enough storylines. Make the split talk about it. Listen. Make the pros main attractive. Create drive to survive kind of LEC content. The same thing with the drive to survive, all the kind of stuff. The drive, like the LCS. Make a storyline. I really wanted to learn about Caps' dad a little more. Or I really wanted to learn about Irrelevant and his mom. I like Irrelevant. Irrelevant is probably one of my top players, pun intended, in the top lane this year in LEC. I want to know more about him. I want to learn more about these players and the struggles they go through. Like Masu, who, by the way, was born Araran and have to go through before the war and have to migrate his entire family to Canada and now becoming one of the I'm not saying best ADCs, but becoming one of the most established ADCs ever and make it to MSI. That rags to riches stories is something that every fan should be invested to and being rooted for. So if you can spend some time, bringing back the skids, bringing the pro players, being the focus and tell stories about it and talk and bring the history of the teams. If you can hire me for the LEC content creation, I can tell the story. I can promo the SK Fnatic game and talk about the history between these two teams. Now I cannot bring Carlos back. Carlos is now exiled, but I can bring former players to talk about the matchups and talk about the history. I can promo the shit sorry my language. I can promote the thing it's not saying the NFL, but kind of like the NFL Super Bowl or something. Even though it's just a best of 1 or best of 3 game, the hype around it will be so immense, and the caring about it, will be so huge. So if you can make the LEC Championship, Regional Championship that next year be a thing, and not just Mickey win a split, Mickey Mouse Trophy, and that's it. Make the format look cool, and cut down the teams that will do it. Make the skits look good, and make the pros be the big thing. Then I think I can see the LEC, as Keijo said, the LEC is going through a down period, like every other region or every other team be like this. They're going through a down period, like the LCS be like it, but I believe in them being good again. And I do not want this for the competitive reasons. I just want it to be a fun, entertaining, competitive reasons. I want the Discord LEC back. I want the Discord LEC back. I want the Discord LEC back. Just bring back the Discord LEC. That's the next thing. Bring back Discord LEC. Just bring back the Discord LEC. I love the Discord LEC. With Nymera and all the kind of stuff. Just bring back the Discord LEC. Just bring them back. Just do something about it. And I'm sad to be the bearer of bad news. But if all else fails, the Saudi money will do. Now I know, Akeem, the Saudis are bad people and all kind of stuff. But at this point, I don't care anymore. I just don't care. I'm not jaded like Richard Lewis or all kind of stuff, or James Fudge or something. But consider the LEC right now being as it is. Why not the Saudi money comes through? Why not Team Falcons be promoted with themselves? Why not having the ESL and the Saudi money pour into the LEC and becoming a business entertainment? And if they can do that, they can break the LEC can be back to being like the LEC of old. Yeah, there'll be some hypocritical people to being involved saying, we are not taking the LEC money because it destroys our values with LGBTQ and all kind of stuff. Oh yay! And how many people are going to the Esports World Cup that have taken the values? No comment. Exactly. We are past the point right now that it's either you take the Saudi money or you die on a vine. Or you have to be more content creation in your casting. But it's either Saudi money or your region die on the vine. And I think right now, when all else fails, you have to take the money. You have to take the money. It's not something that I don't want, but it's something that you all need. It's something that the players need. Just imagine just imagine like going on a road show in Riyadh and going to play for some hundreds of millions of dollars. That will put some incentive on the players right now. That will motivate the players even more. And for casters, the pay will be extremely extraordinary. And for you, you don't have to work anything ever again. And for production, the amount of money you do and you pay for production, it'll be great. Yeah, there'll be some like backlash, of course, but at this point, who cares anymore? I mean, I'm kind of like rolling into like Manchester City dominate the league for the point of like I don't care about the Saudi money anymore. But City are just so good at playing football and they're really good, but they're just so tainted and I just can't stand it. And it just makes you feel like if the Saudis own Manchester United, would you be watching Manchester United now? And I'd be like, no, I won't. But at the same time, what other choice do we have? What other choice do we have right now? So if all else fails, the Saudi money's bringing in neon deals. Who cares? Just bring the Saudi money in and just be like whatever, I guess. So that is the state of the LEC right now. I hope that the LEC will be better enough for the future. I hope the LEC will be good enough, and I just hope the LEC will be like. I'm not calling it the best region in the world. I think the LCK and LPL in terms of like competitiveness and cultural life be great. But in terms of content, it's the only region that I watch without me staying up like 3 a.m. in the morning. And the only region that I can just like laugh at NA more. But it just almost feels like they are becoming NA. And I think it's their own fault that it happened. It's their own pride and ego that pretty much is the downfall right now. And if they can go back to their roots just a little bit and just like make some really hard decisions and cut the teams back and make the format good and make the regional championship be the big thing, then I believe the LEC could be good again. Could be decent and can be good. So anyways, thank you for watching or listening, of course, if you're listening on the YouTube space. Sorry for no face cam, of course, but I have to deal with things that I have. I heard there's a hurricane that's coming to my town, so I want everybody in my town to be safe and stay healthy and, pray, of course. For all the people who don't like the LEC anymore, just hold on to your faith, okay? I believe that the LEC will be good again. It's gonna take time, all right? It's gonna take time. It's gonna take a lot of like financial incentives to do it. But just hold on to the faith. And if you don't want to watch the LEC anymore, just go watch the LCK and LPL for the time being. Their regions are better. Their production is better. Their core base is better. Maybe just do that in a while. So anyways, thank you for watching or listening. And if you like, please like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And I will see you next time. Bye.